What happened was a machine came down, clamped both of my hands down, and had removed 6 digits. So I was in a bad situation. I didn't know what else to do, and I know I needed some type of help, so I called a G law firm. They gave me confidence throughout the whole case that everything was going to be fine. They're not only lawyers, but they are family. Call the G law firm. I did.
And good Sunday evening, everybody. I'd like to wish all the fathers around the world a happy Father's Day to you. This is Cruz with Cruising Radio TV, and this is a special edition. We want to thank you for tuning in with us this evening. We have very insightful, informative interviews coming up. The first interview is going to be with Mr. William Burnett, who is the candidate for the sheriff's office here in the city of Richmond. We're going to be talking with him, chatting it up. And then after this show at 7 o'clock, we'll be talking to Dr. Antoinette V. Irving, who is the current sheriff. But again, want to thank the G Law firm for sponsoring us, not only our radio station, which is Cruising Radio 102.8, but also our as you see, our special broadcast and our podcast. This is currently airing on our Cruising Radio Facebook page and also on our Cruising Radio 102.8 TV YouTube page. So if you want to go and check it out later on, if you want to send it to somebody, then you'll be able to go and find those links immediately after we have gone off the air. So again, we're live now. Want to welcome everybody. And let me take a moment to introduce my guest. Mr. William Burnett is a veteran law enforcement officer with 28 years of experience with the Richmond Police Department as well as the Sheriff's Department. He's held leadership roles in both agencies, ranging from police sergeant to colonel. He is a veteran of the Gulf War, serving his country as a member of the United States Army. He attended Fayetteville State University, where he received his bachelor's degree in criminal justice. And his goal is to use his extensive leadership and law enforcement experience to elevate the standards of morale, public safety, and fiscal responsibility in order to improve the overall operation efficiency of the Richmond City Sheriff's Office. And everybody, again, please join me in welcoming to our show for the first time, Mr. William Burnett. William, how you doing today, Doc?
Doing good. Thank you for having me, Sherman. I've been knowing you for years, and I appreciate you extending this invitation out to me.
Not a problem. And everybody calls me Cruz. See, that's that Army stuff because you know how they did. I was in Air Force, ROTC in high school and college, and everybody gets used to call you by your last name. So I got
right.
I know because everybody calls you Burnett, you know, and that's just part of it. Yeah, I guess what that went from being in the Army, also with the police department, and with the sheriff's department. They just call you Burnett, right?
Right. We go by last names.
Yeah. Look, again, I appreciate you taking time out of your schedule. I know, again, it is Father's Day, and you are a father, so you know we don't want to keep you from grilling. Are you grilling today, man? Are you somebody serving you today?
Oh no. My daughter actually sitting beside me. She actually came by to take me out to dinner. So I'm gonna take advantage of that free meal that I'll probably end up paying for down the line anyway.
Well, you know, we ain't gonna hold you long. We're gonna make sure that again you get that free meal. But you know, most of the things, Bernard, a lot of people do know you. But I want to start off with some basics for those that you know, for our viewers, first time viewers come in. You know, your campaign people have been doing a you know great job getting the information out. Are you originally from Memphis? I mean, I said Memphis. I'm thinking about home. Are you originally from Richmond?
No, originally I'm from Wilmington, North Carolina, but I've been in Richmond probably about almost going into 40 years now.
Wow. So how'd you end up at Fayetteville? Because that's over there in Arkansas. That's almost my neck of the woods.
No, that's Fayetteville, North Carolina, Fort Bragg.
Oh, you know what? I was thinking about Fayetteville, Arkansas. I was like, wait a
Right.
minute, how'd Burnett get all the way over to the southwest? Okay.
No, I figured that's what it was. No,
Yeah.
I'm originally from Wilmington, North Carolina, which is about hour and a half from Fayetteville, North Carolina, and I was did a lot of work up there at Fort Bragg. So
Okay.
end up going to Fayetteville State while I was there, which is in the same city as Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Uh,
Okay.
Fort Bragg, but it's Fayetteville, North Carolina.
Right. So take us back. How did you end up going into the army? What led to that decision or to go that journey?
Well, to be honest, it wasn't about the military or policing at the time. I needed the money to go to school.
Okay.
And my parents didn't have a lot of money. And I know that by joining the military, that would ease up a little bit of the pressure for them. Because I originally started out going to school first and
Okay.
Army second. And I ended up, because of the shortfalls, within my family, having to pay the money. Because back then we got a lot of grants and things like that, but it didn't cover everything. So that
Right.
military, I got the thought process, and a lot of my friends did it back then because a lot of us didn't have. Remember telling people I ain't know how poor I was until I left from home, because everybody around me was poor.
Right.
So when I got to Fayetteville, I realized that I didn't have all the money that I need. So I decided at that point to go in, and it's a blessing today, actually. Because
Okay.
I'm getting things today that 40 years ago that I didn't even think about.
Right.
That would benefit me today. My daughter going to school as well as me having health care and those types of things. And I never even thought about that. That would be a plus for me today.
It's interesting that you said that when we talk to the younger generation now, because again, as you indicated, back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and it kind of slacked up in the 90s, going into the service right after high school or spending some time in college was the thing to do because if
Hmm.
not, you're gonna get settled with a whole lot of debt. Uh, did you necessarily like the Army over Air Force and Navy? So, what kind of led you to the Army opposed to the other branches of service?
Yeah, it was the closest thing to where I was living. And when you thought of military back then, most people thought of Army.
Okay,
Yeah, if I had to do it all over again, the Air Force, they had it the nicest, especially when I was over in Desert Storm. We were sleeping in tents with the sand blowing up under the tent. You wake up in the morning, you laying in a bed of sand. And then
wow,
you look right across the fence, and the Air Force had a swimming pool and they had containers that they were living in. So, I didn't think about it at the time, but, the Air Force might have been the way that would have gone if I thought about it today.
yeah, I know. My sister-in-law, she did 20 years, and recently, probably about 4 or 5 years ago, retired. Man, she's like, and just now, either getting closer to 50s or 50. I'm like, and with me, I I should have gone because I took the Army ROTC and then I took Air Force
Hmm.
ROTC and would have went in as a second lieutenant. But now I wanted to go play ball, and I tell you that was I should have went the other direction, But hindsight is
That
2020, right?
that's the same thing I was. I got to my MS2 year and
Mm,
was getting ready to go as to the MS3 year. And I had just got back from Desert Storm. And I was like, I'm getting out of the military. Because that did a number on me. Back then, going over there for almost a year in the desert, you're waking up it's 100 and some degrees in the day and freezing at night. So me as a young kid at that time, I call it, after that experience, I was ready to get out of everything.
right.
So I didn't pursue the military, meaning going into that that MS3 year to sign a contract to talk about going into the as a lieutenant. I was like, I'm getting out of everything. I have a little bit of college left. I got a little bit of military left. So I stayed in the reserve for probably about 4 years. And then I was like, I'm done with this. And, but I tell you, like I said, it's truly, it was a blessing that I didn't see back then that I'm
Right.
benefiting today. So I'm glad it happened the way it did. Even though I went off to war, I'm glad that it happened the way it did.
Well, first of all, thank you again for serving your country, and then going over in that enemy territory, because that's exactly what it was. We don't, people when they think about the wars, they think about Korea and Vietnam and World War One and Two, but that war within itself was you know. How was it for you? You said you were young and having to go into a foreign country like that.
Oh, it was, and it's crazy. I didn't even think about dying going over there, but I remember them saying that they were shipping 100,000 body bags a week. No, 100,000 body bags a day because we were going up against the largest army in the world.
Hmm.
At that time, although when we got over there, we realized it was like playing video game. But when we were going, we were thinking that most of us wasn't coming back because they were telling us we shipping 100,000 body bags a day. You're going up against the largest army in the world. He had the most military pieces. He had the largest uh, army itself, just personnel. So we thinking that we not most of us probably not coming back. But when I was over there, I remember the first night I worked in a supply company. I was attached to a supply company at the time,
Hmm.
so we handled all of the uh, supplies coming into the country for the whole army.
Okay.
All the military. So of course they were trying to cut off the supply line. So we was getting the majority of those Scud missiles. They were trying to stop us by blowing us up in order to cut off a supply line.
Right.
And that's what you do as a military leader. You want to cut off the supplies. You cut off the supplies. You kill the army. And so a lot of that stuff was being. And I remember the first night that we were out there, and we were all standing out in a open picnic area, and you hear the sirens going on, and then all of a sudden, boom, 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 and we all running around, don't know which way to go because you can't escape missiles.
Right.
So we running around, and thank God that the Patriot missiles were shooting them. The booming that we were hearing was the Patriot missiles shooting them out the sky. But it was another unit, probably about less than a mile away from us, and one of the missiles hit it, but it split it in half, and the warhead tumbled to the ground. And when that warhead tumbled to the ground, it hit and it killed a whole lot of people. That probably was the one time that it killed so many people had gotten killed at one point. And I
Hmm.
remember standing outside because you that close, a missile hit you that close, you gonna feel it. And I remember standing there with my hands in front of my face, and I couldn't even see it because the sky had turned completely orange. And I think that's probably about the scariest situation I was in the entire time I was there. We was constantly jumping up in the middle of the night from bombs hitting and hitting all around us. But that was one of the scariest points that I realized that I was in a real war then.
Right. Now, Burnett, do you think being in that situation did that prepare you for being on the streets of Richmond? You spent over 28 years in law enforcement. How many of those have been actually in the streets of Richmond?
Yeah. And it was 32 years. We didn't update that sheet, but I
Okay.
did 32. I did 20 in the Richmond Police Department. I did another 12 in the Sheriff Department. But I would tell you, it prepped me because I mean, after the dust settled and you going around, the Saddam army didn't clean up their bodies. So
Hmm.
we got our bodies up because we didn't leave soldiers out. But Saddam, they just left their bodies out. So you driving down the street and you seeing heads blown off, you seeing pieces of bodies, you seeing whole bodies that's done bloated from being out in that heat. And so it definitely gave me it was an eye opener when I came to the city of Richmond and I saw all the things that were going on in the city, the bodies here from being exposed to, homicides. It was easier to swallow. But I would tell you the ones that got me the most was the kids. I never got used to seeing kids, killed, especially the small kids. I never
Right.
got used to that part. It will always bother me. So it that military time did prepare me because I was used to seeing the bodies and I was used to seeing all of the carnage, probably a lot worse than what I saw here in Richmond.
Right.
But that the kids always did. I never got used to that. Seeing a little child killed,
Right.
by stray bullets and all that kind of stuff. I never had the preparation for that.
But that's with all that you experienced over there in the Gulf. It was kind of ironic that you decided to go into law enforcement. What was the catalyst for you getting into law enforcement?
I tell you, I was in the fraternities. I'm a captain. So I remember having this party at my house, at my apartment, and the police was called. And this guy, he was extra nasty. I mean, he was really nasty. So
Hmm.
anyhow, he started talking to me. I started talking. We got into arguments. Now I had the football team at my house. I got it's probably 200 people at this party at my apartment. And the guy started mouthing off, and I started mouthing off at him. The football team got involved. He started throwing stuff at him, and he was walking back to the car. He on the radio as he walking back. He got to the car. They started rocking his car. Next thing you know, by you being at the police department, next thing you know, you call a mayday. And they
Right.
had it because it was so many people there. They had the state police, they had a sheriff department, they had the city police there, and I ended up getting arrested for inciting a riot. And
That's not funny.
and
I'm sorry.
right. So my punishment, because I was working at the courthouse, was I had to ride with that same police officer for a month every Friday and Saturday to go see how it was to have to break up these parties when you had them like that. So that was my punishment. They dismissed the case, but they made me ride with this guy. And the first night when I got in, it was high, high,
Mm.
bye.
Right.
And after being there for a while, then I started looking at the gadgets in the car, the radar, and all that kind of stuff. By the end of that month's time, we actually became friends. And I still wasn't sold on being a police officer at that time, but it was I was ending my last year of college, and my obligation with the military was up. So I turned around, and Richmond Police Department was on my campus recruiting. And I said, let me go over there. And I'm just gonna go take the test. I'm broke, ain't got no money.
Hmm.
Getting ready to be out on the street because I don't have a job. And so I said, Richmond Police Department is. I'm gonna go and just check them out. So I took the test and I did really well. They said, well, we want you to come up because you did really well. So I came up probably a week later, and they hired me on the spot. And that's how my career started as a police officer. I had no intent on being a police officer by no means.
Right. So were you here during the time of Jerry Oliver, or was that afterwards?
No, I was here actually when Tapscott was here.
Okay.
And Jerry Oliver came after Tapscott. And my goal was to do a few years at the police department, and then I'm gonna move on to something different because I didn't want to be a police officer.
Right.
And lo and behold, every time I got ready to leave, it was I'd get a promotion or I'd get a better assignment or I'd get something kept me here in Richmond. It
Mm.
was every single time that I got to the point when I was going to leave Richmond, something would pop up. And then when I finally said, I'm done with Richmond, I'm getting ready to leave, my daughter came along and CT Woody offered me the job to be his second in command at the sheriff department.
Okay.
So I became lieutenant colonel at the sheriff department, and it's history from there.
Yeah. And so after that, you went from the police department to the sheriff's department. How long were you with the sheriff's department? You said 12 years, right?
Yeah, I was there for 12 years, and after CT left the sheriff department, I left as well, and I came back to the police department, and I finished out my time so I could retire. I was a sergeant when I left there, a detective sergeant, but when you leave and come back, they don't give you your rank though. You're back.
Right.
You give you your job back, but they don't give you your rank. So I end up coming back. It was a huge sacrifice. I mean, a huge sacrifice. Now you got to remember, I went from being a supervisor on the police department to
Mm-hmm.
going to being a lieutenant colonel for the sheriff department to coming back and being put on midnights. You seen me a few nights when you were there. Yeah,
Right.
I was back to being at the bottom of the totem pole, working weekends, holidays, and back on the street in a beat car. And not that I didn't have an issue with it, because that was just that was the sacrifice, because I was preparing myself to run for sheriff. I'd already had that in my mind, and I knew that being on the police department still one would keep me relevant in the community, people that I know, and it would also uh, give me the opportunity to keep doing the things that I really enjoy doing. That was just being out there with.
Now, 32 years in law enforcement and then, serving time in the military, you still a relatively young man. Somebody would say, Burnett, have you had enough? Why do you want to go into continue in law enforcement? Why do you want to go into the sheriff's department? Why not just kind of ride off into the sunset, wait on your daughter to graduate and then, enjoy life?
Yeah, and I would tell you, it's two things that keep me motivated. It's I love the kids in the community. I love it. I miss that part. Being retired, because I don't know if I told you, Cruz. I know you know, but I don't know your listeners know. But I retired about a month and a half ago,
Right.
somewhere along there, Mike. And I missed that interaction with the kids like I used to do. It wasn't nothing for me to stop by on the street, see a bunch of kids, and jump out the car and start dealing with them. I'd be at the high school sometime. I walked into I forgot what middle school, right there off of Hull Street, River City.
City, yeah.
And I walk in there and they line dancing, and I jump right out there and start line dancing with them. So that part is I care a lot about the kids. I care about the seniors,
Mhm.
and I care about people having the ability to, the inability to be in their communities and not come out on their porch and be able to enjoy just the community, just be out there, enjoy the front porch, people
Right.
walking by. So, that motivates me to, it really motivates me a lot to continue. I'm gonna play a serious role in reducing crime in the city of Richmond. It's gonna be, the sheriff department is gonna be reinvented. It ain't gonna be the same sheriff department where we sit and back and play no role. We the capital city of the state of Virginia. When riots happen and things like that, we should be out there just like they have as we speak now. And I know you know this. We got the state police here,
Hmm.
along with the city, and they got a joint operation going on within the city to try to reduce the gun violence in the city. And the sheriff department should be playing that role as well. They should be out there partnering together, and that's what I'm gonna be. And that's the good part about me having that experience from both agencies, because I have that connection, that working relationship, and I've worked the streets on both sides of So we're gonna play that role in getting out there. The next summer this time, Richmond the Sheriff Office is gonna be out there with the state police and the police department. We're gonna play a vital role in helping. We also gonna do some things in the community. One of the units I'm gonna put together called the Quality of Life Unit. And that
Mm-hmm.
quality of life unit is gonna focus on just that, the quality, the public's quality of life, meaning loud noise, speeders, aggressive panhandling, homelessness. We're gonna focus on those things because it's gonna relieve the Richmond Police Department a little bit, ease that pressure, and
Mm-hmm.
allow them to do more serious things in the city of Richmond. I'm gonna put guys on bikes in the community. You're gonna see an increase in that partnership. When you see a Richmond police officer, sometimes you're gonna see a Richmond police officer and a Richmond sheriff's office, a Richmond sheriff deputy out there riding together as a partnership in the city of Richmond. So we're going to redefine the way things are. For the first time ever, I'm going to create a cadet program, and I'm going to look for people all across the city of Richmond, meaning not just businesses, but people like you in the community, community activists. I'm gonna bring them on board because I'm gonna create what a cadet program. We probably don't have one in this area. I think the closest one is up there in Norfolk somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
but that's through the federal government. But we don't have law enforcement agencies that have cadet programs. I think the closest one I've seen is probably out in California somewhere. But that cadet program is going to follow our youth at an early age on up to young adulthood. And that
Okay.
program is going to, then I'm going to retain them as interns, keep them around until they turn that 21 years of age, and then I'm going to hire them with the Richmond Sheriff's Office. So I got a lot of things that I want to put in play. Substance abuse, mental health, a lot of those things that I'm going to put in play, these are working things, not stuff that you just talk about, the different programs. You're going to see results. That's why I'm going to put together a
Mm-hmm.
community crime prevention board. But this board is going to be a working board, Sherman. It ain't gonna be no board like you see everybody want to get on TV and smile and take pictures and all. This board is actually gonna work. It's gonna be feet to the ground, and it's gonna be spread across the city of Richmond. Gonna have the Latin part community as part of it, the black community, white community, rich, poor, whatever the case is. We're gonna create a working board that's gonna benefit the city. And I don't want people on the board that's going to just talk about what we're gonna do. Cruz, you kind of down to earth like me, and you know how many people we got running around the city always talking about we gonna put this summit on. They have a summit and you don't never hear nothing about it afterwards. You have summits and you don't see no results for it. You're doing vigils out in the community, and then you don't hear nothing else after until somebody else die, and then you want to have another vigil. Yes, I don't need people like that. Those are people that they're not out there for themselves. For the people, they out there for themselves. But my board is gonna work, and you're gonna see results from it.
Now, I would fall back on something again. I'm not going to hold you long. We could do another 15 minutes or so here. With the shortages in both the police department and also with the sheriff's department, how do you envision trying to uh, get qualified individuals to come into the sheriff's department? Because a lot of people now, don't want to necessarily get into law enforcement if they don't have to.
Well, see, and that's what the misconception that a lot of people don't realize when it comes to the sheriff department. I ain't gonna, and I've been with them. The sheriff department, it's freedom of information is there.
Hmm.
You sheriff department hiring people. Their problem is they can't keep nobody. They
Okay.
hiring a ton of people, and anybody that want to look into it and see freedom of information, you can find out the numerous people that go. But when you got people going there and they staying 6 months and then they gone, it ain't that has nothing to do with hiring people. It's retaining people. Are at $57,000 a year, Sherman. When we were there, when I was lieutenant colonel, we had 1,500 inmates. 1,500 inmates to deal with. Deputies made almost $15,000 less than what they making, and we was fully staffed all 12 years we were there. Now we had turnover, but turnover for an agency is a 35, 40 or more people with the size of department they have, but nowhere near the numbers that they have now. 180, 200 positions. That's not turnover, that's management. So what I'm gonna do is first, because of the issues that's going on within the organization, it's gonna be hard to recruit from this area, just this small pool. So I'm gonna recruit as far as far as New York and as far as lower Florida. And I'm gonna bring people in, not just selling them on coming to Richmond and joining the sheriff department. I'm going to recruit them to sell the city of Richmond itself. I'm going to bring them in and recruit them just like you would do a football player. You're going to sell them on the parks. You want to sell them on the neighborhoods. You're going to sell them on the nightlife. All of those things that people don't even think about when they talk about hiring police officers. They don't think about, hey, I'm going to bring you in and I'm going to put a group of y'all on a van and I'm going to take you and show you the nice neighborhoods where you can live in or how you can make a difference. You got to sell them in a way that you selling a football player for a football team. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to sell them on the city and I'm going to recruit as far as, like I say, Florida and New York. And it ain't going to take me long. I don't see it, Sherman, being a problem. Not only that, I have a slew of deputies that say they'll come back if I'm elected. I have a slew of police officers that's at the verge of retirement that say they want to do something because they're going from a city retirement to a different type of retirement, which is state. So that's two separate types of money. So I got a slew of police officers want to come. So it ain't gonna take me long to get me up and running.
Now, let's see, it was what 4 years ago. What 2016? Is that correct? Was the last major election that you were involved in for the sheriff's department? Correct me if I'm wrong or not.
I think it's you like me, Trim. I think it was 2017, somewhere along in there.
Okay.
It was right there at the
No,
verge
it
of
was
COVID.
4 years, right? So this time out, how do you see, your campaign now versus your campaign then, and what are some of the things that that you want to say to Richmond that will convince them, say, okay, guys, I had the first chance. You all didn't quite, roll with me. What is it about you now, Burnett, will influence those people to get on board this time around?
Well, I'm gonna tell you, especially our Black community, and this is I hate to say it, but we don't vote in primaries. It's unfortunate. We skip primaries, but we got to do it different. We got to do things different because then we end up with people like Trump in the White House. Because we don't go out and vote like we should. But what I will tell you, the deficit that I had last time, she had the advantage, the current sheriff had the advantage because one, she was the incumbent. Two, it was COVID. Nobody was opening doors. You couldn't get people to meetings. People weren't going to church. So that was a deficit for me. This time is totally different. I've been to civic association after civic association after senior homes. I'm doing walking, knocking on doors. We got radio, TV, all of that stuff that's going this time. And I tell you, the results have. I see a huge results from it. I wear this shirt now like even in my sleep. I get up out the bed and roll out and keep right on going with it. But I see the results from it because I can't go anywhere in the city of Richmond now that people aren't, stopped. I was in Lowe's just now. And I know before I got from the front door past the first few registered, I had four or five people stop me and tell me, you William Burnett, I'm a vote for you. I've seen you, or you came and spoke to a meeting. I mean, I wasn't in there 2 minutes before four people stopped me. So when I did my poll this time 4 years ago, I was at 42%. 42% of the people in the community knew who I was. I
Mm-hmm.
did a poll a week ago, and 79% of the people know who I am. You don't win elections not with people not knowing who you are.
That's true.
It just ain't possible. So those numbers show me that the sheriff is in trouble. Just to be honest with you, what I'm seeing in the public now, the city has decided to make a change. And what I will tell you is that I want people to understand the sheriff was in office for 8 years. And I don't talk about a person. I don't have nothing personal against him. But people are dying in that jail left and right. And we gave people gave the benefit of the doubt, but then just recently another one died. And then 30 days before that, so another one died. And people are dying from fentanyl overdoses in that jail. And it ain't got nothing to do with the inmates bringing it in there because it's contactless visits. Nobody
Mm-hmm.
come in contact with the inmates other than the staff and contractors and all. So that's coming in through the jail. We got to put something in place, and it's simple. The thing that I'm gonna put in place, Sherman. First thing, the best $20,000 I'm gonna spend is to buying 4 dogs, and I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
put one on every shift. And every shift, when you come to work, you will come past those drug dogs. No
Mm-hmm.
big dogs that jump on people and attack. Small dog. Every shift. And then I'm gonna stop the in and out. No more going to your car. The only facility in the state that I can think of that you're allowed to go in and out all day long, because I can get to bring anything in there. Once the supervisors leave in the daytime, you ain't got, in most cases, you ain't got about 3 or 4 supervisors in there. I go out to my car and bring whatever I want to bring in. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna stop all of that in and out. That's management control. And then I'm gonna put a dog on every single shift. Nobody, contractors, staff, anybody else will not come into that building unless they pass that dog. Even nurses that are contractors, they will come in at a set time, just like our staff do, and they will go past that dog just like everybody else. And if I catch you bringing something in there at any time and that dog hit on you, you will make the news by the end of the day. That's my promise to the public. Because there's too many families out there that people are questioning and worrying and all kinds of stuff. And I'm gonna be very transparent. If something happened, if good or bad, everybody will know it. You yourself will have access to an office that I'm gonna open up called the press office. And
Mm-hmm.
and every social media person will be able to share that office. It's gonna be one office, but everybody will be able to share it. And you will have an ID and you can come into that office in the administrative part any time of the day or night that you want to. But I'm gonna be very transparent. Now you won't be able to access where inmates are up on
Right.
floors and all that. But that press office that I'm gonna create, and I've already figured the place out because again, I was on the design team, so I know where it is, where I'm
Mm-hmm.
planning to put it. But you and any other press personnel that want to get in there can come to that office, and you'll have access to the staff, me, or anybody else if anything goes on. So I'm gonna be very transparent. So I'm telling the public, we gave the current sheriff 8 years, and the deaths continue. The staffing losses continue. The state has put the sheriff department under a mandatory work plan. The federal lawsuits pending, 7 of them. They just recently settled with a family where their son died in the jail from fentanyl overdose. I'm telling you that it's time to change. And it ain't got no knock on the sheriff. It's just sometimes that we need change. We change the police chief. We changed the fire chief. We changed the mayor of the city of Richmond. And it's time to change the sheriff. And that's just, it's just, I'm giving the facts, Sherman. It ain't got nothing to do with personal. These are just facts. Anybody that want anything that I'm saying, anybody that want to, can easily Google it. Google it. I invite you to, because then you're gonna see even more. Google it, and you're gonna find everything that I've talked about: investigations, assaults, death, all that kind of. You're gonna find it. So I'm asking the public to go out June the 9th. I ain't worried about no food programs. A food program is a good thing. I told the sheriff myself, if I'm elected, that I'm gonna keep that program in place. So the food program is not gonna go away. I think it's a very good thing. So I'm asking everybody to go out and look at change. Look at me, look at the current sheriff, and then make your decision and vote June 17th. June 17th, Democratic primary.
All right, one last question here for Burnett, and this has to do with the administrative part. What do you say to those people say, well, how much administrative uh, experience do you have in running an organization like that? Because we know that, I think it's well over 600 or 700 inmates at residents. I don't like to call them inmates, residents,
Mhm.
and probably another staff of additional 400 or 500 or more. I could be off on the numbers. And you got, huge budget. How do you say, hey, I have the experience to oversee every aspect of the city of Richmond jail?
I'm glad you asked that question. Good question. One, I said earlier, I was lieutenant colonel. I was the person who oversaw all operations for 12 years. I will tell you this. This is my experience. When we came into the Richmond Sheriff's Department, we were in a dilapidated, old, rundown building. People were sleeping on the floor. Three other sheriffs had tried to get a new facility. Going into our second term under the C.T. Wood administration, we were able to secure a $132 million building that had air conditioning, which they didn't have before, and people was off the floor. We pushed for that, and we worked with the city and found it. We came into the sheriff department. It was a $5 million deficit from assaults, attacks, deaths. We turned that $5 million deficit into a surplus in 1 year. And all 12 years, we gave back to the city of Richmond. All 12 years gave back to the city of Richmond. So our finance situation went from a negative to a positive and stayed that way. We came up with programs like the father-daughter dance we hosted. It went national. It had a 92% success rate that said that we kept that bond between the father and the daughter. We kept that bond together, and 92% of the people that went through that program end up having a success. We reduced recidivism. We also partnered with with VCU, VSU, and VUU, three partnerships where we brought the professors into the Richmond City Justice Center. And these professors actually put classes on inside the jail if they're normal students, and brought residents in from the jail and put them in a classroom together. It's huge success, because a lot of these young guys and girls looked at these young students that were going to school, and they said, look at these guys. They were young as well. And they looked at these guys, and some of them went on to get their college degree or continued. I don't know if they graduated, but some of them went on to VSU. I'm sorry, VUU and VCU, and continued working on a degree. Whether they got it or not, I lost contact with them. But we put on some programs. First time ever in the history of the sheriff department, we became an accredited organization. It had never been done in the city of Richmond. Accredited for the first time. These are just a few of the things that I can talk about when it comes to experience. And remember, the sheriff was the sheriff. He was the figurehead. I ran all the operations. My job was to manage the jail, the budgets, the personnel. And again, think about this. I did it with 1,500 inmates versus 500 now. I did it with $15,000 less in pay and kept a fully staffed organization. I did it with 500 instead of having 500 with 300 and I can't 380 some employees, and the sheriff currently has 500 positions. Now she froze 100. So people, when they say we got a 190 positions short, really you 290 some positions short because you froze 100 positions, and then you got 200, almost 200 vacant positions from people not being there. So the sheriff is trying to run the organization with 182 positions. Now, when I'm talking about 182, I'm talking about all the courts, civil process, the jail, and all the other things that go along with the jail. And all you got to do is look at the results. Look at the news. Again, Google it. The public defender's office on the news talking about the bad relationship that she has with the sheriff department because she can't even get into the jail to give the people the proper services that they need. And these are the poorest of the poor people. And these lawyers can't get in there to get to their clients and get good relationship. You can go on the news, Google it. The judge was on, the chief judge just talked about it a few months ago that said that they don't feel comfortable inside the courthouses because they don't have the staffing that they need for the sheriff department. So you compare my record and compare the record of the current administration, and all I would tell you is there's no comparison.
Well, Burnett, I certainly appreciate you taking time on the Father's Day, and I know you want to get out and get that dinner. It's 48 hours to go.
That's
What,
right.
what do you say to those people that are on the fence? You got about 30 seconds here to convince them to get off the fence and get on the Burnett train.
All I would say, Sherman, is compare the record. Look at what's been done currently, and look at my record from the past. And it just is no comparison. I would tell you that the things that I plan on doing for the city of Richmond you're gonna, especially for our kids, our youth, the plans and programs that I want to put in place. You're gonna see a huge drop in work, especially once we partner with the Richmond Police Department. You're gonna see a reduction in crime. I promise you, because we're gonna be out there doing some good things for the city of Richmond.
Again, I certainly appreciate you being here. Just hold on just a moment here. And again, I want to say to everybody, if you just not tuning in or you missed any of this broadcast, you can go to our Cruise Inc. Radio 102.8 TV on YouTube, and you can see the entire broadcast, or we will be sharing it throughout all our social media. It is out there on our Cruise Inc. Radio 102.8 Facebook page. Again, we certainly appreciate you appreciate your daughter's patience as we did this interview on today. And she said, don't tell me it's either Howard or Hampton.
ODU.
Doggone it, man. I thought I had everything down. I don't know why. I just envisioned her being at Howard and Hampton. Okay, ODU. The Old Dominion. Okay, all right. Well, hold on just a minute, Burnett, everybody. Guys, we certainly appreciate you being here with us on this special edition of Cruise Inc. Radio 102.8. We're ending this program. I want you to stay tuned for our next special edition at 7 o'clock. But in the meantime, we want to listen to some great Sunday music. Please go to cruiseinkradio.com. Again, that's cruiseinkradio.com. We are a 24/7 award-winning internet radio station. We've been here since 2010 and still going strong. So thank you for everybody that continues to support us, and we certainly appreciate you. And then now we go to another word from our sponsor. Thank you, everybody, for being here with us, and happy Father's Day once again.
The first thing that you need to do is to make sure you get yourself to as safe place as you can. Find yourself a competent attorney who practices in personal injury and will understand some of the things that you're going through. And as I tell people, for 33 years I've been doing this. I've had my own accident. So I would like to be one of those individuals that they would interview so I could at least try to find out how I can best help them myself.